Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be creating a new series called Just JavaScript, where we talk about JavaScript, the programming language, how to code in it, and I'm just starting off with some basic concepts and then just talking about other things you can do in the language, and it's just going to be basically coding in JavaScript. So I'm just going to create a new file, and in this tutorial I'm just going to be talking about JavaScript variables and constants. So I'm just going to call this variables and constants, and oh, I do not want to create a file, I actually want a folder. Actually I'll just call it JavaScript variables, and then constants are actually a part of that. So as usual, let's create an index.html, create that, and we'll just link our script here, source script.js, and then we can actually just close that, create a new file, and yeah. So what I'm going to do is just go over to here, and what I'm going to do is actually just talk about how you create variables, which is actually pretty simple. So I'm going to go to here and go to variables, open the console, and yeah, so this is basically the simple way to run JavaScript. There's actually Node, but I'll talk more about Node later on. For now, this is an easy way which you can run JavaScript. So variables are actually pretty simple in JavaScript. There's actually 3 main types, and you should only really use 2. There's var, so let's just call this variable 1, and we'll just set it to nothing. There's var let, actually let's just var const, actually let's do let, yeah, variable 2, set that to nothing, and then we have const. And you can see const is just in a different color. That's just because of my theme. It highlights constants in a different color to mutable variables. So basically var and let just represent any variable. You can change this however you want. It's just a variable which stores things, and then const is just a constant, so once you set it you can't change it. You'll see if I try and set it over here, again, don't know if it's going to give me an error here, but if we go over to here it's going to give us an error, attempted to assign to read-only property, and yeah, that's because it's a const, whereas if we wanted to do that to this we wouldn't get any error. So that's basically it. I'm just going to write over here var is actually, yeah. And then basically the next thing you want to know is that let and const are pretty much the only ones you want to use. Var is actually a bit old, and there's I think it's something to do with safety and performance, but yeah, you basically shouldn't be using var at all. Whenever you see var, you should pretty much just replace it with let, because it's just like better in pretty much every way. But yeah, so make sure you're only using let and const. Var is just really old, so yeah. And now the next thing I want to talk about is the data types in JavaScript. So just the ones I can name off my head, we have things like number, we have things like string, we have things like boolean, we have other things, and we also have objects, but I'll talk more about those in a later tutorial. But JavaScript is a dynamic language, which means you can set variables to anything. So you can see I've set variable to a string here. So if we print, we can also find the type of variable by doing, not print, console.log, and if we do console.log type of and then variable 2, we can see it gives us a type string. And then what we can do is we can actually change this variable type. So if we do variable 2 is actually equal to 10, which is now an int or a number, it's going to say number now. So in other languages you actually can't do that. Like for example, if it was a string you'd have to keep it as a string, and this actually can cause a lot of bugs because you're changing the variable type, which is why I have something called TypeScript. I'll talk more about that later as well. But yeah, just know that this is how a dynamic programming language works, and you can pretty much change it to any data type. So yeah, that was basically all I really needed to cover with variables. Don't know if I'm missing anything. And then obviously with variables you have all the inbuilt types, like if you have variable 1 or variable 2, which is a string, and then you can see if I click dot, there's actually a bunch of these options. So I can do string.concat, and if we give this a new string, let's just say string, and you'll see if we console.log variable 2, it shouldn't actually change, because what this is doing is actually return a new variable. So we actually need to set variable 2 to that, and then what's this error? Yeah, I did mean variable 2, and then you can see it changes there. So I think that's one of the things with methods in JavaScript. They usually actually return a value rather than change the value itself, and it might only be for strings, because I think strings are an immutable data type. But yeah, so that's basically all you should know for JavaScript variables. They're really simple. Remember to only use let and const, and yeah, they're actually pretty simple. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a future tutorial. Bye.